That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over.
Oh, no tears, please. It's a waste of good suffering.
Fairly alarmed here.
Welcome to MOTN Top 10. This is Masters of the Nerdiverse podcast presents Top 10, where we do a countdown of our favorite movies, video games, and comic books within popular culture. I'm, of course, your host, Mike G. You're with me for the first time, even though we've had a great rapport online, especially on the Twitter, hashtag at MNerdiverse.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, indeed. Plugs infinite. I'm here to introduce Mr. Baelish. How you doing, sir?
Howdy doodly. I'm doing fine. I'm glad that we finally managed to actually do this thing after agreeing to talk about us so long ago and then not managing to pull through with that because of the time zones.
Yes. You have to say we're on different parts of the proverbial world. We're literally, across, as it's said, we're across the pond, so to speak. So it's totally awesome that we're even able to have this clear connection and conversation. And it has been a long time coming. I'm just happy we were able to connect on a genre that we both have experience in and that we can talk about and have a good time. So once again, thank you for being a part of the show, sir. I appreciate it.
Oh, no, thanks for having me on. It's a great experience.
Definitely. So as you saw by the name of the title of this episode of MOTN Top 10, we're talking about video game sequels, games that came after their predecessor and pretty much set the world on fire, not just from a macro sort of point of view, but also from our own personal point of view, games that we played that we feel stand out as amazing sequels. What would you suggest? What would you categorize as a good sequel to you? Like what needs to be hit to make it a good sequel?
I think in order to make a good sequel, I think that there needs to be enough meat on the bone in the original game to even constitute having a sequel.
Yep.
Or at least leave it with no meat on the bone at all for you to be able to do whatever the hell you want. And then, it's a totally new game almost, but, it still has the same, let's say, mechanics or like game modes that bring you back to that game.
Yes.
So, for example, like story-driven games, they really need to have a good story or at least some sort of mechanic or like graphical difference or gameplay difference that would really want to make you play that game. Because there's a lot of sequels that seem very shallow, and that's where you start getting into the nitty gritty of how, should they have really made that sequel?
Mm-hmm. Is there a force behind the sequel?
What I mean? What are the motivations? That's what's important as well.
Absolutely. And you can feel the difference, can you, between like sports games have an infamous sequelitis where they'll just shell out year after year game, kind of like same content, same graphics, same everything, just a roster update that can literally be fixed in a patch. Where if you look at the differences between, let's say, Metroid Prime and Metroid Prime 2 Echoes, it's like, okay, they had a direction to go in that sequel. They wanted to add new features and add new adversaries and grow the narrative. Maybe it's a little unfair to compare like a story-driven video game to a sports game, but there can be innovations.
Yeah, there definitely can be innovations, and I think that's what sort of drove the sports games in the first place. Because back when they were making these sports games, the ones that I remember the most for me were the WWE games that eventually became SmackDown versus Raw. Mm-hmm. Now, they were big at the time, I think, mainly because they would tend to release them whenever there was some sort of new innovation with the games console or if there was a new games console coming out.
Yep.
But now it's got to the point where we're not putting out so many games consoles and we're like keeping them out for longer. So it's like these guys are like, shit, there's not a new console coming out next year. So we're just going to have to make another game. It's just going to be the same game. We we've how many new wrestlers we got? 3?
Yeah.
Like, okay, we'll just put those 3 in and then we'll put a different wrestler on the cover and maybe put like a different career mode on and then that's it.
Guys, what do we do?
It's not what it was. Yeah.
It's like a panic attack. They're just like, all right, we're still in this same generation. There's not much more we can do. All right, let's figure it out.
Poking them with a stick and be like, come on, make some more consoles.
Make more consoles, please. That's why it was kind of weird. This transition years are always weird when it comes to video games. Like we just recently got out of a transition year in 2019 where you didn't see a lot of new innovations in gaming because we're so close to the cusp of next generation gaming, right?
Yeah.
So the news was slow. People are holding their new innovations close to their chest. So this is a awkward time because I'm sure we're going to see some insane sequels be announced this year. I have a feeling this could be a big year for gaming and a big year for sequels because I would not be surprised if God of War 2 technically came out was announced for the PS5 or you know what I'm saying, like Last of Us 2 we're waiting on, which is going to be a big sequel.
I'm hyped for Last of Us 2, but I'm never going to be one of those people that insists on making it like game of the year before it even comes out.
No,
it's
hate
ridiculous.
That.
The hype mentality with the game. Don't get me wrong, it's an amazing game, one of my top 5 games probably.
Yeah.
And I have no doubt that number 2 is going to be just as good, but you should still always approach it with the same level of like, don't just jump straight into it and be like, it's the best game ever. Like, you can still love a game and it not be the best game in the world. Like,
100%.
Undisputably.
And that's a good thing. That's a good segue into our list because a lot of my choices aren't perfect games. They're flawed, but in some way, I just love them. I love them growing up. You know what I mean? So let's roll into our top tens. So what game would you say you have at your number 10?
Right, I'm on number 10. I'll probably cycle through because I've done these games basically as their own entity almost, not to be compared to each other, but I'll also base them on like which ones I still play now, which ones I still wish I play now, and the ones that I don't really go back to anymore. So to start off, one that I don't play anymore, but definitely would like to go back to is Far Cry 3.
Ooh,
did you play Far Cry 3?
Yep, I played a lot of that. That was some good stuff.
That made waves when it came out. I think people who didn't even like Far Cry got into Far Cry. Me being one of them, I didn't even play Far Cry until I saw, the hype generated around it. And when I played it, it was so fun.
Yes, it was. When I bought that game the same day I bought like Just Cause 2. I happened to get them both at the same time. I don't know why I did that to myself, but But Just Cause 3. I mean, I'm sorry, not Just Cause. Far Cry 3 had such a good story to
Definitely.
it. And it made me feel like the kind of jump that Grand Theft Auto had between 2 and 3. Like just a sheer jump in quality, not just in gameplay wise, but in storytelling. And the villain of that story was so influential. Voss. Yeah. That dude did such a good job that he got like acting gigs in Hollywood. Like,
and thousands of cosplayers dressing
hundreds of thousands. The Legion, right? And
you know what the definition of insanity
is, right? That was echoed for years. It's still being echoed. It was an amazing experience. And first person for me is always hit and miss because it's real easy to kind of get the motion and the feeling of third person wrong. Where if it's too fast, it'll just make you sick. And you're like, I can't handle it. But if it's way too toned down, then you're feeling like you're in a walking simulator. You know what I mean? But Far Cry 3 had a really good balance.
Yeah, and it was like some of the mechanics that it introduced. Like, keep in mind that I haven't played a broad like diversity of games, so this could have been introduced in an earlier game, but this is the first time that I came across it.
Yeah.
And that was the healing yourself via just sort of like picking a bullet out of your skin or like, dumping some alcohol on your arm and then that would sort of heal it. You would have an animation that you could always heal yourself with and sort of get your health back with. And I thought that was like quite innovative back then when I was playing the game.
Like seeing the healing animation, right? Reminds me of, I think it was Left 4 Dead 2, where when you're healing, you literally see your character wrapping up pouring alcohol in their arm and wrapping it with bandages for like, it's a 2-second shot. But like you said, having that moment where you're pulling a bullet out of yourself or applying, it's a visceral feeling that just immerses you even more into the game.
It's what you would usually lose your immersion with because you'd have to go into your inventory and click health potion and then like ingest it.
Right. You know what I mean? And it's just, and all you see is like a green flash on your screen and like, oh, I guess I'm healed.
Yeah, pretty much.
Cool. My number 10. And this is the most boomer number 10 ever, but that's okay.
Okay, boomer.
Okay, boomer. But I feel like Yeah, this game had to be on my list, and just because of the impact it had on me as a kid, and the impact it had on the industry, and that's Super Mario Brothers on the Nintendo.
Oh, hell yeah.
Jeez, I mean, this was the very first game I ever played that I can remember as a kid. I remember my pops coming home with the classic double, the Duck Hunt Super Mario Brothers, right? Super Nintendo,
yeah.
blow the cartridge, and he popped that in. I just remember like 0 years old me just constantly hitting the
literally a fetus on the floor with like
literally
a controller next to you,
like the PT fetus. It just
yeah,
with the
that's the exact image I had in my head when you were saying that.
Exactly, just give that thing like a Nintendo controller. That's Mike G. And my parents are just staring, like, how does he know how to play?
He's like absorbing the controller. Like...
Yeah, I'm just shoving it into my throat, into a throat slide, like Videodrome or something. But
exactly.
Yeah, I mean, Super Mario Brothers, which is technically a sequel because the original was called like Mario Brothers, and it's that game that when Mario was trying to save the princess from Donkey Kong.
Yeah.
But the sequel just totally changed gaming forever. I mean, gaming was kind of on the ends in regards to like the whole Atari blow up and ColecoVision. It just wasn't catching. But Super Mario Brothers in my home was the video game that the whole family played. Like mom, dad, myself, we just were all just tied into that game. The music, Luigi, who was best Mario character, don't at me. I will fight
my
for
boy Luigi.
My boy Luigi, dude. Don't get me started. Luigi's the realest. But yeah, I'm going to play as number 2 because I thought Luigi was cool, and I didn't even know what the concept of Luigi. I just thought green was cooler than red for some reason, or the off color that he was at the time. Yeah, Super Mario Brothers is definitely one of those games that is just burnt into my brain. The music, the death chimes. The scary music.
Those are your favorite, eh? The death chimes.
The death chime. I would do a top 10 list just on death chimes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, there's just so
That's
many.
actually achievable.
That's actually achievable. The Sonic-the-Hedgehog, that boom. It's great stuff. But yeah, definitely want to put Super Mario Brothers on this list because it's an amazing sequel, and pretty much was the adrenaline shot to video games to where we are now, about to hit PS5.
Exactly. Yes, definitely. You cannot deny that it was, an influential game, regardless of whether or not, you like the game. It definitely shaped the gaming industry as a whole when that first started to get popular.
100%. And that was definitely the gateway drug for this nerd because I was done. I was just like, video games? ? And then I needed more. And then the parents had to appease.
Then they had to sacrifice games consoles to you.
They had to sacrifice
as you grew into a larger mass.
That's why as I grew in mass, dude.
Yeah,
it started filling up the room. They were like, "Uh-oh, we have to sacrifice games to this heathen god we have in the next room." Does he even play them? No, he just shoves them into that weird throat socket.
It's like we don't know if he plays them. We just give them him, and then
we just close the door. And lights and smoke come out the bottom of the door shaft. Okay. We don't know what's happening in there, but it's happening. What would you list as your number 9?
Number 9. Let me just look back through my little list on my notes.
Nice.
Scribbled down.
Yeah.
All right, I'll do a Pokemon Mystery Dungeon. Have you played Pokemon Mystery Dungeon?
No, honestly, I know of it, but I've seen screenshots. I've seen people play it, but I've never had hands-on on it. Yeah,
it's still very much. It's much more of a story-driven game. It was definitely an attempt from the Pokemon team to sort of start bringing out a new game series aside from just the general vanilla Pokemon game.
Yeah, and
it was like a story-based game. Where you woke up as a human. Well, I'm so stupid. You turn from a human into a Pokemon in this game, and you don't know why. So you're in the world of Pokemon. You can understand what Pokemon are saying, and you can speak to them. And then you eventually join a little team, and you rescue Pokemon from dungeons. It's a dungeon crawling game.
Nice. Okay.
But this game was released on the Nintendo DS right as it was at its peak, so everyone was into it. I was in primary school when it came out. Yep. Everybody had a DS. Mm-hmm. The way that it judged what Pokemon you were is you would answer 20 questions, personality questions.
That's cool.
And then it'll be oh, you have the docile nature, or you have the sassy nature, and then it'll choose the Pokemon for you. And I just thought that was really great. To sort of, I always liked a game where you could put your personality into it, and that molded the story that you had, or that molded who you looked like or who you were in the game.
That's neat. That is really neat. You know, like a Pokemon personality test. You know what I mean?
It was essentially that. I would just do it anyway, just to see what Pokemon I get, and plus I would never be happy with the Pokemon I got.
Yeah, you're like Magikarp.
Yeah, I've got like multiple personalities by the end of this because I have to be Pikachu.
Yeah,
I can't be Chikorita. Okay, I don't want Chikoritas for girls.
No, I can't do it. You just become split. You have like 15 different personalities in one Pokemon.
Yeah,
that's a Pokemon all by itself. Just make it like Legion from X-Men and just have it have like 20 different Pokemon inside one Pokemon. But technically that would be a Ditto, wouldn't it?
Yeah, Ditto. Okay. Yeah,
I know a little bit about Pokemon.
You know, so you haven't really like dipped into Pokemon too much then.
I had and just to date myself, I had Red, I had Black, I had Stadium, I had Snap. I played so much Black. I recently got Shield, but I haven't booted it up yet because Borderlands 3 has my soul. So until I can wrench that back, I'm going to start Shield soon because Sopple's the best. I'm sorry. I'm making a lot of declarations.
Oh, why do you pick Sobble? Why do you pick like Grookey? Is it Grookey, the guy with the stick?
Yeah, Grookey.
Grookey, sorry. Grass type for life.
Man, because I'm a water type, dude. I'm Bulbasaur, you know.
It's all about the nature.
I'm sorry. I'm a not Bulbasaur, Squirtle Squad all day. So yeah. You know, at least for my very first time starting the game, I'm a bounce around my starters once I've did all I wanted to do. But yeah, you know what I mean? Good stuff. I'm going to have to check that out.
Yeah, definitely do. There's so much more to it than what I explained as, but because it's such a dense game in terms of story and what goes on, I would never do it justice.
Oh, and those are usually the best ones, man. And like the game I got to talk about now is kind of the same, where it was such a meteoric leap from where it came from to where it ended up being, and that's my number 9 is going to be Red Dead Redemption. Red Dead Redemption, good old cowboys, shooting guns and taking over the Wild West, as it were.
There's a snake in my boot.
There's a snake in my boot. That's what's up. Yeah. Red Dead Redemption is one of those games where kind of like the tonal shift from, like I was mentioning earlier, from Grand Theft Auto 2 to Grand Theft Auto 3. Red Dead Redemption, like you were mentioning earlier, was one of those games that didn't have a lot to go on, so it literally built itself from the ground up.
Yes, it can expand out.
Yeah. You know, like crazy, and it didn't have any strong fan base to adhere to. You know,
yeah, no tethers holding it back from what it could be.
Exactly, but they just knew they had this brainstorm plan to make it what it should be, and this is this massively immersive, wide, just cowboy simulator where you play as John Marston, who is a desperado, I would say, trying to go straight. You know, trying to build a family. And you just go through his entire kind of the end of his life. Then spoilers, sorry for like almost.
No, it's fine. I'm not one of those people that get really mad about spoilers. I tend to still enjoy it just the same, even with the spoilers.
Same here. But you know, it's got to be said. But I didn't actually spoil it all the way, but just a little bit. But yeah, there's just so much about that game that was interesting. And I'm a kind of a adventure nerd when it comes to like games. I like to. That's why I like the Fallout series so much. You know.
Oh yeah, Fallout's the best.
The Elder Scrolls series, because the world is your oyster in that game, and you can just go anywhere. You can do anything. You can get on a little side quest. You can go in the mountains. You can hunt cougars. You can stop a rival gang. It just never stops you from doing whatever you want. And it's
complete freedom.
Complete freedom. You know. And the game was just fascinating. And then when it became the Undead series, where it had that add-on with the zombie series, that just took it over because I'm a horror geek at heart. So being able to get the 4 horses of the apocalypse and hunt Bigfoot and all types of silly stuff, you know what I mean? And
yeah, it was almost like it was an entirely new game. At first, when you first look at that, you think, oh, it's just a retexture of the original game, and they've just dropped a couple of zombies on it and called it a new a new DLC.
Right.
But they actually added so many quests and completely like overhauled, what was actually there to be found in the game. It was actually quite impressive.
Yeah, I was just like, this is just a new game, and it's just so, and that took hours to clear 100%. And you got to be zombie version of John Marston, because you played the game as Jack, his son, but you got to play like as the resurrected zombie version of John at the very end of the game.
Oh, hell yeah.
It's just so wicked, dude. Just being on, like, let's say the war horse, and it's all on fire and kind of decayed, and you're this undead super zombie. Only reason I love
metal as fuck.
It's just the realist. There's a really bad horror movie called House 2: The Second Story, where you play, or where the movie's about this old zombie cowboy who goes finds his great grandson.
I need to watch that.
Yes.
I love like really outlandish sounding horror movies.
I'm gonna tell you,
hunt that down.
Not gonna spoil anything, but it has a pterodactyl. It has it has a caterpillar with a dog face. It's the best.
A pterodactyl.
There is a pterodactyl in the film. Don't just find it, sir. You will not be disappointed. It's the awesomest. Anywho, yeah, Red Dead Redemption, amazing game. My number 9. What would be your number 8, good sir?
My number 8. Eeny, meeny, miny. Well, this will be a good segue because you mentioned it before. I'm going to mention Skyrim.
Ooh.
Skyrim, because...
Yep.
Well, I'm going to lead with this. It's such a good game in terms of like what it was when it first came out, like the story.
Yep.
And the gameplay for the time that it came out, because people still hold it to a certain height today, almost as if they're still comparing it as if it just came out.
Yeah.
Like people are still comparing it like it's still, people still haven't decided what the reviews are for it yet. And people will be like, oh, why is Skyrim like, it's such a bad game, it's so glitchy and buggy. And it's just like, the game came out 9 years ago.
Bruh, help me. help yourself understand, like, this is a decade-old game that has many reversions and many cleanups.
Like, they're comparing it 50-50 with, like, God of War 3. It's like, what are you doing? It's not even close.
Yeah, Skyrim was okay, but it's not going to be as good as Cyberpunk. I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, they're always, every time I hear Skyrim get compared, they're comparing it to a game that's at least 5 years newer than it. And it's just like, for the time that it came out, it was incredible. Like,
incredible.
It was so glitchy as fuck. It was the worst game on day one, but I still played through it because it was that good that I wanted to play it. I was so invested in what was on the screen that I fought through the crashes. I kept playing it. It didn't matter.
You're singing my language, because back to Bethesda, I had the same relationship with Fallout New Vegas, where I knew the game was going to crash. I knew for a fact it was going to crash every session.
You know it's coming.
You know it's coming. So you
know it's on the
prepare. You know it's on the way. But like Skyrim, you just power through it because you're so immersed in this character that you've been fine-tuning and working on and building for like hours and hours.
And don't forget, the people that wanted this game and loved this sequel, did you not see what the previous game looked like?
Right. Like, did you not see?
Oblivion is one of my favorite games of all time, but it looks like a piece of shit.
Like, if
but it's a hilarious
real.
work of art at the same time.
Dude, and that's what, like, Bethesda, man, I wish they get their act together, because Skyrim, I just remember going through Skyrim and interacting with my first dragon, like, in the wild, in that endurance trial, in me having to barely squeak by and live through a dragon. It was hard. It was life altering. You're just like, you're breathing hard. You're like, I gotta go back to camp. I need to really reinvest how my character is built.
Yeah, you come across your first frost troll and you get like smacked halfway across the map before you can even like retaliate, wondering what the hell just happened.
Dude, there were these. What was it, like 10 or 12 dragon mask sorcerers.
Oh yeah, I never managed to get them all. I never got them all.
I missed one. I missed
missed
one,
one.
and it was the one at the end of the game, and I didn't think to grab the mask, so I never could do the completion.
You fucked it.
Dude.
Like, you only get one chance.
You get one shot, and I was so mad that I literally just divorced myself from the game. But that being said, I loved every second of it. Like, I didn't know. It's something that's just totally cleared my mind. And I was doing end game stuff, and I was like, and I looked into it, I was like, oh, you can collect all the masks to make a super mask. And I went through and like, okay, what mask am I missing? You
and
idiot.
you're already beyond the quest.
Yep, you idiot.
Yeah.
And I just was like, I would just have to restart the whole game. I was like, I'm not doing that.
Would you like try different fighting styles? Because I played every different fighting style just because I was starting to get sick of it, but I still wanted to enjoy it. So I was just like, let's invent this fighting style. Let's invent a heavy armor but with a bow, and then light armor but with a great sword, and all this.
I would do horror movie themed styles. It's super dumb.
Sick.
I would do like a Jason Voorhees style where it's just like a one-handed like sword, but then I would put like the dragon mask on him, and I would have a crazy stealth. So I would just wait and just kind of sneak around and do horror movie themed. Because I played it so many times, I was just making stuff up. All right, this is going to be the alien version where my character is like spits some kind of weird like pseudo acid at people.
You just get an Argonian and put all the bars all the way up to the top, so his face looks like it's a melted potato.
It's like a melted greasy potato, dude. And I just go around.
I call him Alien.
This is my xenomorph. I call him Ripley. And people be coming by like, you have too much time on your hands. Like, no, I just love this game. This is all I want to play right now. So I'm just like, Skyrim. Don't judge me at all, man. Skyrim I'm happy you put it on your list because it didn't make my list, sadly. But yeah, that's a good one. A super good one. My number 8 is a game I've only beaten like once or twice, but it stuck with me so hard that it's just one of those games that kind of molded how I viewed what a video game what kind of story a video game could tell, and that was Silent Hill 2. Silent Hill 2, the soundtrack alone. I'm very big into video game music. I love atmosphere and
me too, and
music, and even the lyric music, because it's very rare you get lyric music in video games. It's more common nowadays, but lyric music, when that kind of pops up in a video game, it just ties you to that moment. It tethers you to that moment. Like I have a Spotify a playlist where it's just nothing but lyric video game music. And it's like about 40 or 50 songs. And of course, I have so much Silent Hill on there. It's insane. But yeah, Silent Hill 2 and just the exploration of that character's torment, and that all of his torment's kind of self-inflicted, was just way too deep for little Mike short pants with the propeller hat. You know what I mean? Like, it was just way too much. That's a game I had to play like when I was a kid. I played it again in university, and I played it again as an adult, like a full. And I had a different response.
Yeah, you came back to it at different times.
Yeah, and every time I just saw it in a new light and a new understanding and appreciation of how the gameplay was. It's not like I was mentioning earlier, it's not a perfect game. It's super flawed. It
came out on PS1, didn't it? Or you can't really judge too much because it's
such a
literally
early
just
game.
A gray block.
Yeah, it was a gray block with like a kind of shaded block that's moving forward, and then there's faint blocks in the distance. And you
essentially had like an old Motorola phone computer inside it, pretty much.
It has a razor.
Yeah, Motorola. It's not. It's like these phones are better than the PS1 now.
Jeez, can you imagine? Isn't that just crazy to think about how your cell phone in your hand has more like processing power than like a PS2?
Yeah,
it's kind of nutty.
It's crazy.
But yeah, like Silent Hill, just the iconic creatures, Pyramid Head. The nurses, just the atmosphere, like Atmosphere Car, which was different than another game that's going to be on my list, where you really didn't have a means to defend yourself. You're just kind of,
vulnerability.
The vulnerability of it was something I'd never seen in video games before. Yeah, and being actually scared because it's like, when this is the last time I saved? Did I save? This thing is chasing me. I have no way to defend myself. Just run, and that was. And so many games have egged that on, like Outlast reminds me a lot of early Silent Hill. It's just like, you don't have any weapons, man. You're just a guy. a
lot of the most highest rated horror games you'll see now, at least true horror games that don't dip too much into the action side of things, do rely on the vulnerability of it. Because how can you be horrified if you feel secure in something that you have in the game?
100%.
You need to feel like you're in danger all the time, if not most of the time.
100%. And the second you empower the player, all that goodwill is gone. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
all that heat's out the room. You know, it's just like, yeah, why am I going to be afraid of Pyramid Head when I have a rocket launcher?
Yeah,
like,
it goes from Dawn of the Dead to Shaun of the Dead. If you give him, high-powered weapons or whatever, or something that makes it easy, it's just straight from a horror to a horror comedy.
Yeah, and then it just totally diffuses what you're trying to do. You keep the player, like you said, in a sense of anxiety and tension, so that when these things do happen, you're garnering the right response, which is kind of panic. You're like, what do I do? All right, can I get out this way? You start, and if you happen to die, you just think about it more, and you become more skilled at it, and you become more immersed in it. So, Silent Hill 2 is definitely one of those games that was really important to kind of like my video game and just my overall horror aesthetic. Because even in horror movies, this wasn't really touched on in this direction. So yeah, that's why I made my list. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's good. That was a good one. Very influential game. In fact, I'll say my next one. What number is this one?
We're going to be on 7 right now.
Number 7?
Yeah.
I'm not necessarily saying, like I said before, this isn't necessarily in front or behind any of the others, but because of what you just said there, this one is quite linked to that same thing. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to talk about Dead Space 2. Now, Dead Space is probably one of my favorite IPs of all time because it's just the way... You look at it and you think, oh, it's just so like stereotypical video game armor and stuff like that, and like the way that there's zombies flailing around that. But the way the story's made just makes everything just make sense. Mm-hmm. You know, normally you're like, why is this dude going into this dangerous place? Why is he so vulnerable? Why wouldn't he have guns with him? Like, that sort of stuff that takes you out of the immersion. This guy was an engineer with just a little engineer gun for cutting shit. The reason he's wearing armor is because he's safe from when he's working on metalwork and all that sort of stuff. His stasis module that he uses for the slowing down the creatures, he would use to slow down machinery, which is also part of the game as well, to get through the ship. And it's just such an amazing game in terms of tension and horror, like you said, with the music, the constantly climbing and climbing violin soundtrack that keeps going as you're walking through, the alleyways. You'll see stuff like rolling across the floor, shadows. Yes, the lights will turn out. And can I just say, I love small details in games, and the way that the lasers work as they move around the room, and you see the mist going through the lasers. Showing sort of like the dust that is unsettled in the room, and then like how they hit the wall. It's just
they didn't have to do that. Like those little details they didn't have to do, but they did it. Like the sound in the Dead Space series. We're not counting 3 because we don't talk about 3.
Yeah, let's not talk about 3 and Isaac's second girlfriend.
No, jeez Louise. The music of those games is damn near perfect. It builds tension through rhythmic insecurity. There's this, I remember one room where you just hear this knocking, and there's nothing going on in the room, and it's just shadows playing with you in this sound, and it makes you so uncomfortable that you just
like, what is it?
I have to solve a puzzle in here. I don't want to be in here because something's gonna happen.
Oh yeah, and there's like you said, let's not talk about 3 because I think 2, the way that Dark Souls went through the sequels, I think it was a very big slant going... Well, no, I think it was like a triangle shape. Mm-hmm. With like Dark Souls 1, it was pure horror. Yep. There was a little less action, a bit more atmospheric, and Isaac didn't talk. So that was like, we're quite up here at like a 10. Yep. And then, we get to Dark Souls and Dead Space 2, and they add a bit more action to it, which is good because then that gives a bit more like, arcadiness almost to the game. Like you can go through and like kill stuff, but they still keep that sense of horror.
Yep.
And the story in it is very good, mind you.
It's amazing.
Like the way they tie in like how the second story goes and how Isaac's descent into madness and, how they linked that to the cliffhanger from the first one. Mm-hmm. I love that. And then they just sort of, when they got to 3, they were so more focused on action and story and about, Isaac's relationship troubles and shit.
Yeah.
That, it didn't feel as scary anymore. It was almost like, oh, it's a shoot 'em up. You just blast things to pieces and carry on going.
Yeah, and a lot of these games want to try to capture the alien to aliens transfer, right? Yeah. Alien is just pure gothic horror, right? It's just, You're in a haunted house with a giant alien that's going to eat you. All terror, no weapons, right? Dead Space. Dead Space 2 is more aliens, like you were saying. It's more high octane. It's more kind of shooting gallery, and it adds more in-depth story. It's trying to tell you more about the character. Because in Dead Space 1, we didn't really know a lot about
anything
about him.
It's all sort of insinuated, and you sort of are left to sort of put the pieces together.
Yep.
But then, like, when you get into 2, it's like it all makes sense, and you've got like a progressing story as well.
And the beauty about it is that they never beat your head over with it. You know what I mean? It's all very subtle.
Yes,
like how
very
they
subtle.
explain, like even the UI being on the character's body is such an innovative technique that I had never seen before. His life bar is up his spine, so when you take damage, you see that bar drip a little bit down. Yeah. And it makes sense to how his suit is created. And everything you need is clean on the character. So there's no immersion breaking life bars at the top of the screen or bullet counters. The bullet counters are there, but it's built into the game. I was like, like you said, the small little details. They do. I can talk for hours about the Dead Space series, the Necromorphs, about the Ishimura, the history behind that ship. Like you said, Isaac's himself, his relationship with his girlfriend. That's a very good pick.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. You're robbing all of my honorable mentions.
I'm like, oh shit.
It's all love. My number 7 is, I'm just gonna flat out say it, Xbox era Halo 2. I played so much damn Halo 2, and I've never been really a console kind of purist. So I'm not one of those guys that's like Sony or die, or Microsoft or die. I just never saw the logic in that, because like I'm gonna buy the console that has the best games that fit my play style, and that's bounced around through the years. Like Nintendo kid, I was a Sony kid for a while. Xbox came out, I was an Xbox kid for a long time, and playing Halo 2 for the first time, and playing a first-person shooter that felt good. You know what I mean? That felt natural, and that you could bring to your buddy's house and run LAN parties and just run around in a warthog and be in a moving car while you're driving. Your buddy's like on the turret.
Fast fun.
So much fun. Hours, late nights, being sleepovers. You know what I mean? Just being stuck, just playing this game with your friends for hours. And, not to say much about the single player, because the single player was fine in that game, but really that multiplayer experience and kind of how that game molded my idea of first-person shooters. Because the very first first-person shooter I can remember playing was like GoldenEye 007 on like the N64.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was the birth of that. And we're just like, we could just get we can get like 12 people in a room and just rotate out. You know what I mean? Just, hey, everybody get a turn once you die. And then LAN parties got created.
It's like Duck Duck Goose.
It's literally Duck Duck Goose, man. And they was like, hey, but everybody bring your own Xbox and we'll just run LAN parties at the homie's house who has like 3 TVs. We'll just sort it out. And we would literally be there from like 12 p.m. to 12 a.m. like every day, just running Halo sets and using the laser sword, that glass.
Yeah, like the
sword.
infection game mode.
Yeah, dude, there's so many crazy capture the flag, bro. Like, that's one of the only real like multiplayer games outside of fighting games that I really just attached to. And Master Chief was the coolest thing since sliced bread at the time. It just solidified like Xbox was the system to play on back then. And Halo 2, in my opinion, is probably one of their better games out of the entire Halo series as it stands now. We don't know what Infinite's going to be like, but Halo 2 was just really their kind of diamond, at the peak of its popularity. And
definitely.
And there was enough people in the neighborhood who had it, so we could all play and all get good and all build rivalries and just have good fun kid stuff. And that's why I made my list so high, is because it just has so many fond memories of that game.
Oh yeah, well, like the thing is with Halo is like, I'm just gonna say straight, I've played Sony consoles since I was little. I've never really owned an Xbox. I've always played PS1 all the way up to PS4, straight up to PS5. Mm-hmm. I don't judge people that play Xbox though. Like it's all down to what you want in the end of the day. Like sure, we all get petty to a certain point where we'll be like, yeah, well, we've got The Last of Us 2.
I do that all the time. I have a buddy who hates me because I have a PS4, and I'm like, okay, let's name exclusives. I'll start Street Fighter 5, and he's like, Forza,
Yeah, exactly.
Spider-Man, Bloodborne. He's just like, shut up, Mike. You know?
Yeah, but Halo is one of those games that is always sort of appreciated by everyone because it's one of those games that fills a hole, no matter whether or not you appreciate the story. Same as Modern Warfare is.
Yeah.
You might not even be a fan of the franchise, but the style of gameplay is like a staple that a lot of people appreciate and go for, and Halo fills that hole very well for that people of that generation because they did it so right.
Absolutely. And good pull with like Modern Warfare. Like I played a lot of Modern Warfare 2, and I've never been like a big Call of Duty, like I don't play war games. Don't really play them at all. But every generation there comes one game that really catches my eye, like Blops, COD Blops, Black Ops.
COD
Blops, dude. That's
the next one.
Yeah. Oh, geez. Yeah. That's one game I was like, I'm not really a war game dude, but I can probably play that if it's like $20 on Amazon or something, you know?
Yeah, it's got a sense of addictiveness to it. In its
yeah,
own
like,
way.
Oh, that made scratching itch that. I mean, he's scratching right now. But
yeah, that's a good figure of speech for it. Yeah,
you know what I mean. So yeah, that's why Halo 2 definitely on my list. This was one of those good times with my buddies. You know, being kids. You know, having a great time with the game that just was worth it 100 times over because we played that thing for days, accumulated days. You know what I mean? It's kind of nutty.
Yeah.
What would you say is your number 6?
I'm going to get this one out of the way just because I don't have it in such a high regard compared to the other games.
Yes.
But it's still a good mention, and that's the Soul Silver Heart Gold version of Pokemon that came out for the DS.
Yes.
The reason I'm bringing this one up is it's not necessarily my favorite Pokemon game in the entire franchise, but I see that as the last, if not one of the last, classic Pokemon games compared to what Pokemon has become now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, Pokemon Soul Silver was so good because, you know, in most games you beat the whole region and then you're left to complete any little side stories through the region or just entertain yourself for that.
Right.
You know, and I lived in an area from when I was a kid all the way up to 18. I lived in the countryside where there was no internet, there was no shops, there was not many people living around, and obviously there was no public transport. So you were sort of stuck in the countryside.
Yeah, you were where you at.
Yeah, I had to entertain myself with these like games whenever I didn't want to be, you know, outside poking shit with sticks and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, this Pokemon game, when it introduced a whole nother region to go to after you completed the game, it was essentially 2 games. You had Pokemon Red in the game with it because you went all the way back to Kanto and fought another 8 gym leaders.
That's cool. It was kind of like the run back, man. Like you got that's cool. Yeah.
But then, like after that, Pokemon, and this is my opinion, I know a fair few people that will disagree with me on this, but in my opinion, I think Pokemon started taking back steps in how good their content was. Like they still have good content, but they've sort of pieced it apart now and made things less grindy because they want to appeal to a much more general demographic. Really, you know, they took things out of the game, they put things into the game that made things easier. Like, oh, all of your Pokemon get experience now instead of just one, so everything levels up faster. And you know, the game sort of holds your hand now. And now with Sword and Shield, you know, we're adding paid DLCs, and we're now, you know, a much smaller Pokédex. You know, probably about, I think my friend told me it was something about like, you know,
it's like a third.
Yeah, it's like a third.
Yeah,
and it's like, yeah, you can look at that and be like, okay, well, you know, they're just trying to do something different. You know, they're trying to approach things in different ways that people like. But I always say, you know, why do that? You know, why do you need to do that? Or at least make them all available still, but you know, through another like format. I don't know. I'm not an expert on, you know, business, and I don't know what their approach to the whole thing is. But any Pokemon games coming out now aren't really what I'm looking for.
It's kind of interesting you mentioned like Pokemon's descent into complacency in a bit of a weird way, and I think a lot of that goes into the spirit of competition, where Pokemon doesn't really have any in its genre. You know what I mean? Like, it's just kind of like sports games. It's like
Yes.
EA only makes sports games because EA only carries the licenses. So there's no spirit of competition to try to beat the next person or beat the other company making a similar game than you.
Yeah.
Where Pokemon had its Digimon, it had its different kind of similar, competition. But at this stage now, Pokemon's a
Yeah.
one-stop shop,
That's a good point. They don't feel like they need to push as hard with like what they're providing anymore. They can sort of ask, they can hold their hands out more almost and ask for more
Absolutely.
from the customer.
And even if they were to do something like I would even be okay if they had like downloadable content patches where they patched in these older generations of Pokemon, like a
Yeah.
Kanto pack. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Or if a really, or a, just like a black and white pack or something like that, where it's like, oh, the Pokemon that you're missing, are coming in upcoming content. You know what I mean? Like add like 50 Pokemon, a pack, a patch or something like that.
Yeah, I believe that's what they're sort of doing with Sword and Shield.
Yeah.
But something that, because I had a talk about it with my friend who's also a YouTuber called SDA Gamer, and he plays Pokemon. And he said that like we sort of got into a debate about the need of DLCs and whether or not, should they just be in the game already or for free compared to what they were in the past. Adding these Pokemon through a paywall almost. Well, the DLC itself.
Yeah.
But what Scott told me was that, the Pokemon will still be available through trading with other people, so you don't have to get the DLC. And that's something I've always been fine with, is as long as you can get the thing you want through hard grinding anyway, then it's fine. But if you have to pay for it to get it and there's no other workaround, then that's where I'll start to be like, okay, come on, why couldn't that just be in the game originally?
Right. And I mean, initial launch data for a video game should always be up for either payment or up for grinding. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's a given. Like I used to hate day one patches where the game would come out and then like for fighting games, for example, you get these 2 new characters on day one, but if you pay for it, they're already built into the game. You're just pretty much downloading the patch to let you play as them, but they're already built into the game. It's like, why can't I just beat, arcade mode like 5 or 6 times and get that character?
Yeah.
But you're still getting the same return on investment because I'm invested into your game, versus something like, well, we have this huge idea for an expansion, but it's not going to be ready for a year. So enjoy the game now. We're going to roll out this expansion at a discounted price. I hope you enjoy. I'm way more comfortable with that than bleeding us, death by 1,000 cuts. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Can you imagine if they just had a Gyarados, DLC for like $5? Just a single Pokemon.
Yeah.
Oh, how much?
That'd be crazy.
It'd be crazy. Like, do you really love Blastoids? Pay us $5 for just this one Pokemon.
Yeah, I'm so glad it's not that. Like, it could be so much worse, regardless of how you feel on the topic.
Yeah, but luckily, EA got stung with the whole loot box situation, so I think DLCs are going to be a bit more kind of streamlined now, hopefully. But not to get too far off topic, but yeah. Your number 6, yeah, that was pretty. And what was the name of that Pokemon game again?
That was Soul Silver and Heart Gold.
Nice.
It was probably the last sort of not 8-bit, but you know how it's more pixel rather than a 3D character model.
Correct.
It was one of the last ones where they did it in that format, and then they moved to more like 3D model characters for like the 3DS and such.
Nice, very nice, very nice. And it's a pretty good segue to my number 6, which is kind of something they did but have refused to do again for this series, and it just makes me want to pull my hair out. And this is my number 6 is Star Wars: Knights of the Old Republic 2.
I heard about that game.
We were talking earlier about a game that I may have beaten like 75 times.
Oh, is this the one?
This is the one. I played this game until the disc wore out. This is the game where you play as I would say a Force user with amnesia, and throughout the game you're kind of sorting out if you're light side or dark side.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And anything in between. So the replayability for a game like this is insane because there's about 5 different variations of Jedi, 5 variations of Sith, and if you want to just go straight blasters like Scoundrel, like Han Solo style, you can do that and totally ignore force powers, you know what I mean, are
Yeah.
totally into them. And you got to, this is one of the first games where you kind of pick up companions as you go along, and there's ways you could not pick them up if you miss them. And the companions can go light or dark, and they change the way they have their conversations.
Yeah.
It was just this Rubik's Cube of an RPG. And my little
Wasn't
brain...
it similar to Mass Effect in the style of communication?
Absolutely.
Like you would have multiple dialogue options, and then that would sort of mold how things would go for you throughout the game, right?
Absolutely. You would have like Jedi super good answers, Sith super negative kind of cheeky answers, and you would have then you have like gray area like I don't care answers. And the worst thing and the greatest thing about that game is apathy is death. So if you just play the game completely gray line, you'll get like worst ending versus just being a complete scumbag and getting the Sith ending, or being goody two shoes and getting the Jedi ending.
It's like, come on, pick a side.
Pick a
Stop
side,
being so neutral.
man. Stop being so neutral, man. What are you doing? And that game has there's like a halfway point in the game where if you're just too neutral, you'll prematurely beat the game and get a bad ending, and you'll miss like a third of the content. It's nuts. Like,
sorry, you're too boring.
Sorry,
you're too boring. The game's over.
Sorry, man. You're just too vanilla. I need you to pick strawberry or chocolate. You chose neither. We're cutting you loose, man. And I remember I tried doing that, and I was like, wait, what?
This game's too radical for you. I'm sorry.
This game was just too radical, and I was like, why did it do that? It was like, this is before like the internet was super crazy, where you could just pull things up. These were the days where it took 15 minutes to download a Dragon Ball image off America Online. You know what I'm saying?
Like telephone dial-up. Like,
Mom, get off the
see
phone.
The bar like come down.
You see, your picture's gonna come out all pixelated. Yeah. So this is one of those games, man. I beat so many times. Got every lightsaber color. Got all the chase outfits, and did all the storylines. Picked every single race from black, white, Asian. Like, it didn't matter. I picked all the different little pick a persons, and I gave them all crazy names and wrote backstories for them.
I can relate to that,
dude. I wrote like little I did fan art for them. It was bad.
You wrote your own little stories in your head about the character.
His motivations, what planet he was born on, where's his parents, or they Jedi. It got silly. I still have that stuff at my grandmother's somewhere, but yeah, Knights of the Old Republic is one of my favorite games of all time, and I had to make my sequel list because KOTOR 1 was good, and it's just improved on everything, and just such a good jump in quality. So that's why I made my list 100%.
Oh yeah, that sounds like a good contender, and it sort of comes back to like what I said before. Like, those are the sort of games that I love because you can add you into that game.
Yes.
You can put your thoughts, your opinions into that game. Like, I don't want to play somebody else's game, where like they make their own prejudgments.
Yeah.
Like, I want to be able to, take, a moment and make my own choices. Mm-hmm. Just like Fallout 4, like Mass Effect, just like Elder Scrolls.
Have you played the Outer Worlds yet?
I'm looking at my game collection right now. I'm just like going through each one of them because so many of them have like quest lines where you develop your own character.
When you have a chance, if you haven't played it yet, play the Outer Worlds.
Oh yeah, I've been seeing that on PS4. It looks very Fallout-esque.
It's gonna blow your mind. It was my game of the year. It's
great.
Amazing. If you like that kind of stuff, like your choice, you build you, and your choices kind of influence the game, and there's like 3 or 4 different endings to that game. You're gonna love it. So I definitely recommend that.
That's good. I will. I'll definitely try that out.
Ooh. We're in top 5 territory. Oh no, this is where it starts to get a little tight.
All right.
What's your number 5?
Next one.
Yeah.
Let me just see which ones I've still got in here. Right. Okay, so we covered Dead Space. So, one of my last ones is we'll do Jurassic World Evolution because you weren't really into your simulator games as well, park building simulator games.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see kind of your experience with this game. Absolutely.
Right, well, let's go back about 15, 16 years where Jurassic Park Operation Genesis came out.
I remember that game.
You remember that game?
Yep.
I was a dinosaur kid way back, and obviously if you've seen my channel, you'll also know that it's also got some dinosaur related.
You're a dinosaur man.
I'm the dinosaur man.
I'm the dinosaur man.
But he. But there's a Jurassic Park Operation Genesis was like one of those games where I spent hours as a kid because I loved building parks. I loved creating my own little Jurassic Park where it worked. Because even after watching Jurassic Park, it was like, man, I really wish I knew what it would be like if that park actually functioned properly.
Yeah.
And that's probably the reason why I enjoyed Jurassic World, is because you got to see
the glimpse.
What it could have been really, and what it was until it got fucked up again. Hence the following sequels.
Yeah, as it should, right? As the plot progresses, right?
But I was so invested in it because it had the same soundtrack. It had the same. I'm not sure if it had the same voice actors, but they did a very good job. Keep in mind, I was about any age from like 6 to 12, so I could have been convinced by anybody at that age, to be honest. But they, it was only on PC and PS2, and by the time that I got to like the PS3 age, to the Xbox age, I was really craving a dinosaur park simulator that was at least sponsored in some sort of way by Jurassic Park, so you still got all the the royalty, what's the word, the copyright shit that you pay royalty for half the time, like the Jeep and all that sort of stuff, dude. So it was going for so long, and then finally, I think it was last year or the year before, bam, Jurassic World Evolution's coming out. It's not the sequel, but it may as well be, because it's basically just a done up version of Jurassic Park Operation Genesis.
That's cool.
It's so good, but at the same time, it's so shit. There's so many. It's one of those games where they didn't finish it when they released it, so it's a very shallow game. You complete it very quickly, and you end up wanting a lot more. But simply by the fact that it filled such a deep hole that I'd been waiting for so long, it was just so nostalgic playing that game and being able to just do what I used to do as a kid for so many hours, just building these parks. And there's something about park simulators that are very therapeutic as well. Yeah.
It seems the type of game that you can put on like a podcast, put on some music, and
That's exactly what I do.
Work it out. And just work it out, man. Yes. There's a person up the street from my grandmother's house in California that literally retrofitted his Wrangler to be just the Jurassic Park Jeep.
Oh, it looks so cool.
It's so cool. We would walk as kids. We would just walk by their house and just stare, just so hard. Like, can we just? If we would get in trouble if we just jumped into their Jeep, wouldn't we? Like, yeah,
can I touch it?
Yeah, and we would always do it. I would always see this guy driving around the city, and me and my cousins would just start screaming, "Dun da da da!" He would go, he would go,
and then he'd reach his head out the window, and be like, "Dun da!"
Yeah, he smashes out. We're like, yeah.
Like T-bones another car.
Yeah, for real. He just smashes through somebody's yard. He just keeps going. Like, that guy rules.
We moved out after that.
Yeah, sadly, we never saw him again.
Yeah,
he caused irreparable damage to the neighborhood. But but yeah, I was a huge Jurassic Park kid. I remember playing Jurassic Park on the Sega, and
I remember that game.
And I that was one of the first times I called a hotline to actually get cheat codes because I couldn't figure out how to beat the game. You have to kick the stupid rock to make the T-Rex bone fall so the raptors don't eat you. I had to call that, and my mom was like, I was like, Mom, can I just call? It takes 2 seconds. She was like, yes, you may, because I was stuck on that part for like 3 days. I was so frustrated. But yeah, that sounds neat. Like, I've always, like I was mentioning earlier, I played games like Roller Coaster Tycoon and played a little bit of The Sims, and it just sparks so much imagination, those kinds of games, because it's really you playing in your own sandbox, you know what I mean? And that with the branding of Jurassic Park and how that movie just inspired the minds of children and adults just across the world.
Yeah,
I can only imagine how cool that is.
Just a little thing to add into that is also, I think it also kind of inspired me what I went on to do in my education, and maybe it's what I'm interested in, myself, that makes me like that game so much. But I studied, animal behavioral and welfare in university.
Yeah.
Basically, the shit that's still alive today, because, I can't go out and look at T-Rexes at the moment. I wish I could.
Not yet.
But, not at the moment. But, I'm holding out for it.
Yep.
So I've always, had like such an interest in like enclosures for animals and how you can simulate the natural environment, and that sort of, it fills that hole, it scratches that itch, as you said before, that sort of game. That's
super neat, man. Like, your life is being adjusted by your art. You know what I mean?
Yes.
That's neat. That's super cool. Man, it's hard to follow that because mine is just silly. Mine is video games.
No, give it to me.
Well, Number 5 is Marvel vs. Capcom 2, New Age of Heroes.
Exotic.
Exotic.
That's an exotic one.
Dude, it's super niche to a lot of people, but to some people, this game was life. I remember getting the Dreamcast. Dreamcast is actually one of my favorite consoles growing up because it just had all the best games at the time. I remember that sticking out for me, and being able to play a arcade cabinet perfect version of Marvel vs. Capcom 2 was the most insane thing in the world. It ran perfectly because usually arcade ports to video games before that time were buggy and they didn't really work.
They were quite
right.
choppy, weren't they?
They were choppy and they just didn't. It didn't look the same, man. And I remember Marvel vs. Capcom 2 just being absolutely perfect to the point where I would invite friends over, and anybody I didn't know, I'd be like, "Hey, put a quarter up, man. You're already playing the arcade. Put a quarter up, man." You know. And this game, as a fighting game kid, was just the best because Marvel vs. Capcom in itself is the blending of two worlds that I've always loved, which is Street Fighter and Marvel Comics, which is. But I was
the perfect game, essentially.
The perfect game for a kid like me, growing up and drawing superheroes, Iron Man, Captain America, the X-Men, and then growing up playing video games like Street Fighter 2, Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter Alpha, and this was just the beautiful, like, it was a dream game. Like, how does this exist, right? And having to have that come home and be one of the very first games I got to play on the Dreamcast. The controller was crap. It was garbage. I hate the Dreamcast controller. And I wasn't sophisticated enough back then to have like an arcade stick or something like that, right? So, but I made do with what I had, you know. And that game is brutal when it comes to, we were talking about earlier, unlocking characters or unlocking things that are not behind a paywall, right?
Yes.
And that game was notorious. You had to unlock like 40 characters. You know what I mean? Each one had like time limits. So if you lost your save for Marvel vs. Capcom 2, that was a bad day, man. That's like a summer's worth of grinding to get all of those colors, all those characters and color variations all over
get it
again.
completed. It's strange they don't do hybrid games anymore. You think there'll be something in the market there. Like, you could get Uncharted and make it a hybrid with Tomb Raider and have the characters meet up and have their own story together.
That's so much
and
money.
Both companies mutually benefit. I don't get why they're too afraid to do that. You know?
It's so weird. Like, I would love a God of War mixed with like Assassin's Creed.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly. If you can make it work.
If you can make it work, just do it. I mean, everyone's going to be happy at the end of the day.
You know, Dark Souls and Bloodborne could definitely work. They could definitely make that work.
Why not just have them exist in the same universe? You know, like that. There's
There's
different time
theories
periods
about that.
Right? So, like that's a very good point. You know, these collaboration games, very rare, and they do it a little bit. Like they'll have like Smash Brothers is the closest thing we have to a collaboration game. You know, because Smash Brothers literally has everything. Has, you know, everyone from Bayonetta to Cloud from Final Fantasy in a Nintendo property. That's insane all by itself. But I would love more collaboration games and just letting us fans just have the biggest fun and geek out over those kind of moments. You know what I mean?
Definitely. Yeah, there's definitely a gap in the market for that.
Absolutely. Cool. I'm sorry. You said your number 5 was Jurassic Park, right?
Yes.
Beautiful.
I've sort of lost count, but I'm just going to keep going until we get down to your one, and then I'll probably just either pick one out of the one I've got left, or I might run out. I don't even know.
It's all love. We'll definitely. We have about 4 more, so we'll figure it out. Actually, in that case, I'm just going to do my next one. I really want to talk about.
Yeah, go for it.
And that is Metal Gear Solid. I really want to talk about Metal Gear Solid as a sequel to Metal Gear, the old Nintendo game, and the quantum leap Hideo Kojima just shoved into that game, and graphically, aesthetically, just like nothing you ever seen before. You know what I mean? It was that game, the stealth that made you stop. You know, as a video game player, you're always go straight, go forward, right? Push, push, push.
Shoot, you actually hesitate.
You have to hesitate. You have to pay attention to, walking patterns. You have to pay attention to vision cones and things like that. And it just made you, as a kid, slow down. And that was so unique in a video game like that. It's like, and you would think it would be boring, but no, your heart's pounding because you're hiding somewhere. You're under a box. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's definitely one of those games where you were like, wait, you actually hang around in an area for a like, extended period of time, and it's still fun.
and it's still fun, right?
Yeah.
And these characters, Solid Snake, Liquid Snake, Meryl, the Psycho Mantis boss fight alone.
Oh
is
yeah, it's
just
very, very clever boss fight.
the most insane thing at the time. Only Kojima, like, you have to just unplug your controller and plug it into the other port. There's no way you would know that as a kid. It's like,
I know.
you're just not beating that game. It's one of those, you just have to, that's what they call like one of those, schoolyard myths. That kind of like,
Yes, definitely. You wouldn't even believe it
you wouldn't
if
even
you
believe
got told
it.
that.
100%. Like, yeah, my friend's brother's cousin beat Metal Gear because he pulled out the controller. But that's stupid, man. Shut up. We're gonna fight now. Like, like we're gonna
Throw hands right now.
Yeah,
That lie, scandal.
How dare you sully the schoolyard with your lies? And you're like, after the kid is like,
Exile him.
he is stricken from every book and tablet. Get him out of here. But yeah, man, like Metal Gear Solid was one of those introduction games to it was just kind of my introduction to the adventure game, where it's just a slower pace. Your finger's not on the X button the whole time shooting like in Contra. You're kind of thinking about what you're doing and making educated guesses to
Taking it in.
Taking it in. It forces you to observe your surroundings and really drink up what you're doing rather than just go, go, go. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I definitely wanted to talk about Metal Gear Solid. So that would technically be my number 4.
Number 4. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
What you got?
let's bring out the list. Well,
The list.
Segundo. Okay. So we'll go with this one's a bit of a unpopular opinion for anyone who is a fan of the franchise, but I'm going to go for Dark Souls 2.
Ooh.
Now, I know a lot of people who are bigger Dark Souls fans in terms of the lore, at least, than I am. And they tend to be the people that tend to hate Dark Souls 2 because I think it steps a bit away from it's not as dark and gloomy. There's a lot more brighter environments that you're in. It seems a bit more cartoony with the way that the models are made and such.
Right.
But what pulls me towards Dark Souls 2 is that it was the game that introduced me to the franchise.
Yep.
So you could call me a bit biased, but I played 3 and I played 1 too. And 2 was the one that I always invested the most time in.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't necessarily the plot that pulled me into it. It was actually the mechanics and how sharp the controls felt. They felt very responsive. You could flick the stick an inch and the character would face the direction, the response time, the input reaction time to your controller just felt so quick that you felt like if anything went wrong in the game, it wasn't your controls. It was literally your timing in your own brain. It's not how fast you press the button. It's how fast your mind responds almost. Yep. And that sort of fairness that I sort of didn't get as much in the other games, because another thing that I think you tend to lose with certain games, and this is a good segue for the next one that I'll do after yours, of course, is that once you get too realistic, you can sometimes start to lose some of the quick responsiveness that you like to have in an arcade-esque game.
100%.
Not you don't always want 100% realism when you roll on the ground when you're dodging an attack. You don't want the dude to stumble over a rock and then slowly make his way up. Sometimes you want the character to just instantly do a quick roll and then get up again. You don't care if you're wondering why the hell is this dude knocking out about 10 front rolls in the next 5 seconds.
Right.
And I feel like Dark Souls 2 kept hold of that, while Dark Souls 3 sort of lost that.
I love that you mentioned kind of reality versus fun, pretty much. Where, again, I mentioned Red Dead Redemption earlier. The reason I didn't like Red Dead Redemption 2, it's because it was just way too realistic. It was just there was too much you had to worry about. You know what I mean?
You had to pay taxes.
You had to pay taxes and make sure your horse was clean.
Yeah.
And you had to clean his boots. And this is things you otherwise it will directly impact your gaming experience. And one thing you mentioned about those FromSoft games, man, they are brutally fair.
Yes, they are.
It's your fault. It reminds me a lot of fighting games. If you lose in a fighting game, there's no one to blame but yourself, because either the guy was better or you made mistakes.
Yes, because the controls are that tight.
They're that tight and that responsive that no, you just chose poorly, as the Templar Knight said to Indiana Jones. But yeah, Dark Souls 2.
It's a game of rhythm.
It's a game of rhythm. It's a game of patience, but also courage. You have to have have a little bit of courage to play FromSoft games, just because you may make a decision that will either seal the deal or seal your fate. It's going to seal the deal one way or another.
You're going to die. That's a given.
That's part of the game.
Yes, definitely.
You know, you will die. And Dark Souls 2 does get a bad rap from my kind of outside of the bubble. It's, because I'm not a huge FromSoft head.
Yeah.
But that is the kind of that is the dark horse of the group. And
a lot of people call it the redhead.
Yeah, the redhead. The redheaded stepchild, right?
Yes.
And I don't think that's fair, because I think FromSoft has yet to make a bad game, in my opinion. They just make solid content across the board. Even Demon's Souls, as the kind of progenitor of all of these games, it's still a decent game to play. It's hard as crap, but if you put in the work, it's going to be fun. And I think Dark Souls 2, though it may not, like you said, be so tied into the lore of the other games, it still has good weapon selection. It has good responsiveness, good boss fights.
It had good mechanics as well that they got rid of in Dark Souls 3 that I very much wanted to still have in Dark Souls 3. So, there's stuff that was so specific to Dark Souls 2 that keeps me on that game, because I like the way that they made the setup for that game.
Absolutely. And, it always sucks when they pull things out of the game that you wish kind of were still there, especially in sequels. Like, so, so it's like, man, I wish Ryu still had his donkey kick. Oh well.
Yeah.
Maybe the next one.
You had power stancing in Dark Souls 2. You could, if you wanted to do wield 2 ultra great swords and fling them around like an ape, then you could. All right, you could. It was like an anime in Dark Souls 2. But then you get into Dark Souls 3 and it's like, oh, sorry, you can't do wield combo attack giant ultra swords anymore. You've got to operate them as 2 separate weapons, and you can never use them at the same time. It's just like, why are you killing my fun?
Yeah,
I want to be able to look like a lunatic in this game.
Yeah, it's like wielding 2 great swords doesn't make sense. It's like, we don't want it to make sense. We want it to be fun.
Yeah, if I want to windmill 2 great swords, then I want to.
Man. Let me be me. I don't balance it and figure it out.
Yeah, just do it.
That's not my job. That's your job.
I gave you the money.
I gave you the money, dude. I gave you the currency, man. Do it. Stop making me feel bad. Number 3. And yeah, Sonic-the-Hedgehog 2.
I can't say I got into Sonic at all, but I can appreciate why you chose one for the list, because like Mario, it was another very influential game.
Sonic was dumb, because Sonic was back when it was literally the console wars. It was a Nintendo or Sega. And you had one, and your parents couldn't afford both, so you had one or the other. And there was a time where I didn't have a Super Nintendo, but I had a Genesis, and my cousins had the Super Nintendo. So one of the first games that really came with it was Sonic and Sonic 2. And I remember being so attached to Sonic 2 because I like the sidekick characters. I'm not really big on the hero character. So I always used to love playing as Tails. Miles per hour. I was 0 years old when I found out that Miles Prowler, his name is Miles per hour. It kind of that made my nose bleed when I was like, wait, what? but yeah, Sonic was one of those games, Sonic 2 rather, was just the music on top of the gameplay, on top of the stage and the colorful atmospheres, and learning the secrets of the emeralds and unlocking Supersonic. And it's just many layers to Sonic 2.
Supersonic. It's literally a couple of letters off Super Saiyan.
You know how, and I didn't even get that when that first happened. Dragon Ball hadn't really hit the US at that time, so it was completely over our heads until we were older. And we're like, oh, okay, that makes sense. He looks legit. He's just a Super Saiyan. Makes sense. We were like young adults, and at the time we were just like, okay, you unlock all and you just become this super crazy version of Sonic that can fly, and it's just in God mode, and it was hard as hell. You had to get your older brothers,
fucking Japanese
bastards. Why are these? How do they know how to addict to me so easily? And I just remembered like the casino level was just one of those levels that's just burned in my brain. The second stage where you're just running through the factory power plant stage, I believe is what it's called. And
yeah,
the music, and it's jazzy and high pitched, and the music just sound great. Maybe because my nostalgia glasses are a little foggy, but the music was just amazing, and the fluidity of Sonic, like the locomotion on how they made Sonic was perfect. You got to feel you felt the build in his speed, and you got to feel the weight in his speed when he was really going and just zipping through like those travel tunnels and stuff. You just felt invincible until you realize there's a spike set up at the end of that. And if you don't know to stop, you're just going to run right into it and lose all of your coins. Dr. Robotnik, I refuse to call him Eggman. Boss battles were always inventive, and and of course Metal Sonic. It was like the rival. That was like, I think that was the first time you got to see Metal Sonic. Or I think so. Maybe in Sonic 3D. I may be wrong, but yeah, just my memories of Sonic 2 and playing as Tails and having family come over and making them be Sonic, and I want to be Tails because I don't have to lose lives. I could just come back and keep playing over and over. It was just childhood gold, man. Yeah, Sonic 2 is the best. It's probably my favorite Sega game in general. Like the brand, like Virtual Fighter, all that stuff. No, it's just Sonic 2. It's one of my favorite games.
But you're not going to mention Sonic 06.
Only if I get paid money. Only if there's
I think you can make a whole podcast talking about why Sonic 06 shouldn't have been made.
I'm sure there are more braver souls on the YouTube who have whole channels and have 45 minute like introspectives on just the Sonic makeout scene, so
the Sonic makeout, I completely forgot about that.
Yeah, that happens. Sonic makes out with a human, and that was greenlit and animated, and there's probably like production stills of that shit just floating around. Why?
It's such a funny game. I can't believe they released that.
Sega. They have robots like telling them what to make, like Warner Brothers now. They just the computer says we should make a Sonic rugby game. Print it. The computer
Sonic and Mario at the Olympic Games.
Yeah, because that's gonna make $1 billion, right? Ugh.
I mean, it was like hype for like a week.
Yes.
And then nobody really gave a shit after that.
And then someone just shot it into like a trash bin, and that was it.
Kobe it into the bin.
Kobe. Yeah, the last good Sonic game was Sonic Mania, and that wasn't even made by Sega. Isn't that nuts?
That's such a kick in the teeth.
I love it. It's the best. Breed competition, that's what I'm all about. What would be your number 2? If you had a number 2.
So my number 2, right, this one's gonna be a bit of a different comparison as well. I'm doing Uncharted 3.
Ooh.
Now, this was originally Uncharted 2, but Uncharted 3 is pretty much not that much different. The only thing that I appreciated more in Uncharted 2 was the plot, really. They're both essentially the same game. The mechanics and the combat stays very similar. But I'm picking Uncharted 3 over Uncharted 4. Because while Uncharted 4, it suffers from that same thing like I mentioned before, realism kills some of the fluidity that you can get in a game when you get really good at it and you start to enjoy it.
Right.
So, for example, in Uncharted 3, I'm going to talk about a bit about mechanics now, is you can blind fire, right, from behind cover. Yep. If you've got a shotgun or anything that's got spread fire, it doesn't really matter like how badly you aim. If you aim in the direction of that person and they're really close, that is an insta hit. It just takes them out and you can run and gun, bang, bang, done. And it adds that sort of fluidity of like jumping over, parkour, running and shooting while you're running. And you can still get the satisfaction of like being sort of an action hero. But in Uncharted 4, the sort of realism that they put into it, you can't really get the sort of, quick kills and sort of like snappy reactions and shots that you could get because either they've added the more health to the enemy the spread fire on the gun is more realistic now, or the damage is reduced, or you've actually got to aim a bit more now to get the shots in. Well, that's not to say that it's a bad sequel to that sequel. It's just it's just you sort of still want a bit of arcadiness to a game.
Absolutely, you want it to be. It's like sacrificing realism for fun. Like we were just talking about earlier, and I'm staring at my copy of Uncharted 3, and I'm staring at my copy of Uncharted 4 because I love that series. Like, it's sad because I don't own Uncharted 1, but I do own 2, 3, and 4.
Yes, because I'm exactly the same. Exactly the same.
I didn't get into it till 2. 2 was my entry into the series.
Did you play the online?
Yes, a little bit. It was okay.
I really love the online.
It was okay.
But they got rid of it in 4, or they changed it to something else, and I think that's also something that kept me to the prequel.
Mm-hmm. It was fun because me and my buddies were playing it, and but they jumped out, and I just was playing it with like plebs, and I just was like, it's not the same. But yeah, Uncharted 3, and just that series alone is kind of one of those you could be proud to own a PlayStation kind of games, where it's like these games are just going to be good, and like between 3 and 4 and between 3 and 2, you can really interchange those for your favorite, man. They're all just solid, rock solid games. And like you said, it is they do suffer from a bit of sameness just because of the nature of the type of game it is. Things get tighter, both for good and for bad, mind you. Nathan Drake, he's still this unstoppable killing machine. Doesn't matter.
Can't seem to die at all.
It doesn't matter if he's getting older and he's like showing his age in 4, or in 2, he's like climbing vertically up a crashed train on the side of like a Himalayan mountain. Doesn't matter. Yeah. He's fine. If you're fine,
don't worry about him. He's got plot armor on.
He got so much plot armor. He has like the Saint Seiya golden Pegasus armor just on all day. Nothing can defeat him. And one thing I do like about 3 more than I like about the other ones is its set pieces. And all have great set pieces, but I think some of 3 set pieces really stand out. Like even the walk through the desert scene. It's just beautiful. Oh yeah, animated.
Definitely. I think the only thing that pulled me towards 2 was the scene with, do you remember when you're going through the sort of Nepal area and you're walking around with Tenzin, that Nepalese guy that's guiding you through, and you're sort of both hopping on these puzzles like from either side of the cliff, and you've both got to press buttons at the same time,
and you could see him working it out too.
That was a really good part of the game that I thoroughly enjoyed.
Yes, absolutely. I just wish they bring them back. It's one of those series where it's like that and Infamous, the Infamous games on PlayStation. I just like, they're still IPs, like just make more of this. And like, hearing they're ending it, I'm just like, oh, that sucks, because it's such a
they kind of wrote it off with 4, which is a shame. But I hope have you played the full story of 4?
I played the full story of 4. I didn't play the side story. I didn't play the addition.
I'd like them to maybe do something with Nathan Drake's daughter.
That would be
awesome.
And
maybe make her be like, to push her forward to the age of like 18 or 25, and then have
100%.
her own adventures. I think that'll be really good.
Have her own adventures, have her own kind of side group, have Sully and Nathan, and just have them be like part of the story, but not be integral. Yeah. Have her just do her own thing. That's money. If PS5 was announced and they just announced like Uncharted 5 and it's just her grown up.
Drakette.
I would just be like, Futurama gif. Here's my money, dude. Because that's one of those series.
It's like Nathan Drake with like a chiseled jawbones, but he's got like a ponytail and like some lipstick on it. It's just story of Drakette.
It's just Nathan Drake, but he has ponytail hair.
They just took his model and just like put like Ellen or Ellie's name, like whoever she's called. They just morphed her into like one character.
He's literally just wears a T-shirt that says Ellie on it. That's the indicator, dude.
Looks like Dee Dee from like. From Dexter's Laboratory.
Yeah, that's like, the fake Powerpuff Girls where it's those criminals.
That is exactly it. That is exactly the fake Powerpuff Girls. He looks like that.
Yeah, just like that. He still has real buff muscles and shooting guns.
Yeah.
And his daughter's like, "Can I play?" No, you go sit down. Yeah. I'm you for the day. It just make it real dumb. She's just waiting. She's like Sonic the Hedgehog waiting.
You watch me, daughter, and you pretend that you're me.
And you're me, and you're only going to be in cutscenes because this is my game. She's like, oh. She's like, I'm waiting for you to die, Dad. He's like, it's not going to happen.
What armor?
He just goes, ching, ching. He taps on it. But yeah, definitely Uncharted series in a whole is just, if you haven't played any of them, I definitely recommend getting like the Nathan Drake collection.
I've just got it for free.
There you go. Get that and play them because you will not be disappointed. Number 2, huh?
Down to the last few now.
Yeah, number 2. Is a 2. These are all 2s, all sequels. And that's Resident Evil 2 is my number 2. And at first I wanted equal representation in regards to the type of games I want to put on this list. A little bit of fighting, a little bit of action, a little bit of RPG, a little bit of horror. And I was fighting in my head between Resident Evil and Silent Hill 2.
Yeah.
Because, they're both kind of the same game, but at the same time...
Very similar in tone. And approach to horror.
And you know what? What we talked about earlier solidified my choice because in weirdness, they're not. Because Silent Hill 2 leans more onto that helplessness we were talking about. That fear through anxiety that you can't really take this situation head on. Whereas Resident Evil 2, it gives you power, but then you're dealing with more powerful situations. So your power is constantly being tested and being belittled by like the influence of Mr. X or by the growing in difficulty villains that you have to fight throughout the game. You know what I mean? Like you start feeling confident with zombies, but then we introduce dogs, but then we introduce lickers, and then Mr. X starts showing up, and you're constantly behind the 8 ball in Resident Evil 2.
It draws so many parallels with Dead Space as well. You can tell that Dead Space took a lot of inspiration from like Resident Evil and and its successors as well, with like the whole upping the game with who you're fighting and resource management, making sure to actually pay attention to what you have on your person.
That was the anxiety, was bullet counting,
yes,
and herb counting, and mint maxing and attaché case balancing, and you're just sitting there sweating like, oh man, I don't have enough room for this health. Should I just drop ammo right here? Should I just leave by sacrificing ammo for heals? You don't know what's coming next.
Yeah.
And even like and one thing I love about this game is that the replayability, because you have to beat this game like 6 times to get to true ending, because you're bouncing between Claire Redfield and Leon Kennedy in their different zapping system scenarios. So you're constantly training yourself and feeling more confident, but the subtle changes will always keep you kind of thrown off. You know what I mean? You're constantly feeling like you're catching up. And this is one of those hard games that I was just drawing my own version of tyrants and drawing lickers. And I always knew the games I liked, I drew because I was a very artistic kid. So I was always drawing my version of me in Raccoon City and what I would be doing. You know what I'm saying? Like, dude, I wouldn't be a member of Stars, man. I would just be like some dude at like a liquor store. And it all jumps off. And I just happen to see a zombie cop and I take his piece and that's how I start. You know what I mean? And I'm like, and I will be coming through like, do I make it? No, I probably die. But how do I die though? Dude, I get like a G virus, like worms split out of my chest.
Yeah, like, you talking yourself down like almost like ruins your own fantasy. Like you will sort of ruin your own fantasies by being realistic.
Yeah,
like,
being realistic.
I would
like,
die.
No, I was super not make it, man. And then my mom has to walk over and see me drawing a picture of myself with like a chest bursting coming out. She's like,
yeah.
Baby, you okay? I'm like, yeah, Mom. I died in Resident Evil. She's like, okay. Again. Check it out. I'm like showing her the picture. It's like, yeah, we're gonna go to therapy. We're gonna get you checked. No, just kidding. But yeah, Resident Evil 2 was definitely a very influential game for me at the time, just because of the replayability. It sparked my imagination, and the constant power check is what really, and then getting better at balancing those bullets, knowing where every bullet is, knowing where every herb is actually helps you get more confident and fly through the game to where you do get that power complex at the end of your journey with the game, with the software, versus when you first start, you don't know what's happening. You're fumbling, you're wasting bullets, you're just doing all types of crazy stuff. And you still feel that kind of anxiety you would feel playing with Silent Hill 2, but just a little different.
Yeah, it's definitely a honorable choice there because of the sort of influentiality that it had with many horror games, and I'm talking about a lot
Most
of games. Yeah,
pretty much
a good 80% of survival horrors at least follow some sort of trend that Resident Evil sort of got going. Yeah.
100%. You got one more game, sir. What's that game?
I've got one more game, and this one's a bit more of a nostalgic one. Back in the PS2 days, a lot of people hype this one up a lot when they try to reminisce of PlayStation 2 games.
Yep.
And that is The Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers.
Those games were crazy, man.
And or Return of the King. I didn't play Fellowship of the Ring because apparently it didn't really follow the actual canon story too much. Because The Two Towers sort of starts at the beginning of The Lord of the Rings, and then it sort of plays through Fellowship of the Ring, all of Two Towers, and then when you get to Return of the King, obviously that's when you have that movie. But my God, the combat in that, if you look back at it now, it still kind of holds up, you know?
Yeah.
It's still pretty sharp and reactive, and it looks like some damn good fun to play as well.
What studio was that? I don't even remember the name of that studio, man.
I do have the game. I've got the case of it still from back when I have a PS2 game. It's made by EA Games.
There you. I remember. There was always a faux pas about movie adaptation games, right? They're always like cheaply made and quickly done, right? Just get them out. But it was a really big deal when those games came out because they were doing things that have never been done before, like stage layouts, like you said, the combat. You get to rotate between characters. Like if you want to play as Legolas, you could play as Legolas, right? And if you want to play as Gandalf, you can play as Gandalf, right? If I remember that correctly, wasn't something like that?
Yeah, in 2, you were restricted to purely Legolas, Aragorn, and Gimli. But when they brought 3 out, obviously the PS2 was a bit more developed with its games then, and that's when they added like the Hobbits and the Gandalf.
Yeah,
and you would have to pick a certain selection in each story. But once you completed it, you could go back and play any character, and you could have a player playing with you at the same time, so it could be 2-player.
That's cool, man. I remember those games very fondly because it was a big deal. I remember when those games were coming out, they had a low roar to them, you know, where it's like, okay, they're adaptation games, but around the schoolyard it was like, no, those games are legit, man. Like,
you didn't expect it. You looked at it and you're like, oh, it doesn't look that good, and then you play it and you're like, oh shit, this is actually like one of the best movie games I've ever seen.
Yeah, I had buddies that were like, I played God of War, and I played this, and I just want to keep playing this. I'm like, well, really? They're like, yeah, these games are low-key very good. And I think I played a little bit of Two Towers, and you were like at the Battle of Helm's Deep.
Yeah, and you have to kick the ladders down.
You have to kick the ladders down. You see like the giant, super like giants in the background and stuff like that.
Yes.
It was just cool, and it was like something like, it was so much going on at the same time. And you were just like, man, I picked my Legolas, and I was just like trying to surf down the backs of giants. It's like crazy stuff.
Those were the big battle scenes back then. Like now you've got, you know, computers capable of like rendering huge battles with like loads of AI characters running around. But back then the PS2 couldn't really process much of that. So you'd only have like, you know, 9 or 10 people on screen at a time sort of thing. But the way they handled it was like really good because they would have it look like there's loads running in the background, and then waves would sort of run off from like this big mound of people and start running onto the map where you were and you were fighting. So it always looked like you were in the middle of a battlefield in the midst of it, and you know there's people dying around you, and you're doing these like combos specific to specific kinds of enemies that look really flashy. Oh, it was tits.
Man, I remember like watching behind like makings of this game and how tight they were with like Peter Jackson and how close they were with the cast. And like the people who made this game, EA, really took it seriously. Like, no, we want this to be as movie accurate as possible. And you're
Yes.
like, wow. And
This is when EA was actually a bit more respectable.
this is when they were Anakin Skywalker before they turned into Darth Vader, sadly.
Yeah, they were at this stage where they were talking about sand and how they didn't
Yeah.
like it. They were at that sort of arc
Yeah,
in the story.
they were just sitting in a field with Peter Jackson. He was just like, yeah, you have the full rights to the movie. He's like, I hate sand. They're like, okay. Yeah, we
Yeah,
get
and they were
that.
like, okay, this is our time to go.
Yeah, this is our time to go. Just call us if you need anything.
Yeah.
EA was still like, trying to figure it out. But yeah, I definitely am happy you have this game on this list because it is really a forgotten gem. That whole series was really comparable to anything that was out at the time. It was damn near better than most things, and I'm happy you brought that up. Number one.
What's your number one?
It's such a cop out. My number one is such a cop. I almost want to switch it out.
Call of Duty.
It is technically it is what's it called? The super famous game. My joke died. It's Street Fighter 2.
AAA.
I was thinking of not PUBG, but the game that ate PUBG and became more popular.
Oh, Fortnite.
Fortnite, yeah. I was gonna make a Fortnite joke.
That would have been a good cop out.
Hey, I was going to make Fortnite my number one, but oh well. Too bad Fortnite. Even though us mentioning it, I get to use it as a tag and try to get Fortnite streamers to watch to listen to this.
Hell yeah.
Just because I mentioned it, but no, it's Sega Genesis. It's 1990, like 1 or 2. It's my father looking for reasons to play video games with his son, right? Who's slowly growing up and becoming a young man. What game can I buy that something we can both play together? And it was my birthday, and he got me Turtles in Time. Nintendo, that's one of my favorite games of all time. Turtles in Time, and he brought home Street Fighter 2 on the Super Nintendo. And my dad would pick Chun-Li.
Those thick thighs.
Yeah, man, he was all day Chun-Li all day. I used to hate his Chun-Li because my father would beat me mercilessly in video games and not let me win. Because he was like, "Nah, just figure it out. You'll figure it out." And I would get so upset. And I was trying to find my character, and I ended up sticking with Blanca because he was the weirdo. I always used to pick weirdo characters because that's kind of like the best character I can like attach myself to. And so I picked Blanca, and I ended up beating him for the first time as a young kid. And I felt so accomplished that I just kept playing the game. And that's how I got into fighting games. It was Street Fighter 2. Probably one of the most influential games of all time, in my opinion, because it birthed the genre. Street Fighter 2 created fighting games. I mean, like, Street Fighter 1 was so clunky and so difficult to maneuver around and so hard to control. But when Street Fighter 2 came out, everything was enhanced. They added fighters, the World Warriors. They added the 4 Heavenly Kings, which is Balrog, Vega, Sagat, and M. Bison.
Sounds like Dark Souls bosses.
Dude, that's what we call it, the 4 Heavenly Kings, man.
That's sick.
You had to get through them to beat the game, and Bison was the last boss, and you weren't beating Bison, dog. And you had these characters that just ran the gamut from Dowsum, African American representation in video games was one of the earliest I remember seeing.
No, that can definitely be appreciated.
Balrog, that's super cool. Strong female characters. Chun-Li is one of my all-time favorite characters in fighting in any game, because to me she was like the princess of video games. She was one of the first female characters.
Strong, independent woman.
Strong, independent, who can lightning kick you through a mountain. You know what I'm saying?
Put your head like a watermelon in between the legs.
Just, and then she goes, and then you're in heaven. You're like, how'd you get there? It's like, oh, not a bad way.
Yeah,
could have been worse. Exactly, could have been worse. And I just played so much damn Street Fighter. I was invited. This is another game I got to bond with my family with, playing a lot of fighting games. Picking a character, learning how to use Ryu over Ken. Your personality can just latch onto any of those characters, and that's your character of life. You know what I mean? Like I know some guys who will argue to this day about E Honda's the best. I'm like, hey man, that's all you, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's good when you can actually be part of like a small community where you can argue about those things. Because the game's that good that it actually enables you to form those opinions and be that strong-willed about them and passionate about them.
And be right. Like I can't knock anyone who's a Guile main, like that's the character you attach to as a kid. and that's what got you into playing video games and fighting games and learning patience and timing. And I saw you, man. I can't knock you for that. Just don't pick Dan. But anywho, he had nothing to do with Street Fighter 2. But yeah, that's my number one game because it birthed a genre. It was one of the first games that I really had to interact with my family and friends with. And it sparked a love of competition, a love of repetition, of learning, and really sticking with a game at a very young age. Street Fighter 2 all day. It's the best. I think that's our list.
I think we have completed the list, yeah. I think we've gone through them all.
We did it. Now just confetti flying. Someone dragged out a bear with a hat on.
Yeah, we're actually floating through the Nerdiverse right now on like little chairs. It's like there's different universes.
It's neat.
You know, we're going past the Anakin Skywalker universe at the moment.
Yeah, man. We're entering in the weird like dungeon. We're entering in like the weird Suicide Girls part of the Nerdiverse. We have to dip out of that real quick because we're not supposed to be there.
I don't like this channel.
And he's gone. No, just kidding. Yeah. No, and we dip out, and then we accidentally make a right turn into like the.
It's like an invisible magic school bus where you're sat there with the steering wheel.
Yeah, and you're like, hey, what's that? Don't stare over there.
Oh yeah, that's the Batman versus Superman universe.
Oh, that's the Yarn of Justice universe. we don't talk about that.
Yeah, keep driving.
Keep driving. Don't
look forward.
Roll the stop signs.
Yeah.
Don't even brake. Just keep going. Oh man, this was awesome. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate you being on the show today. And where can we find you, sir?
If anybody listening out there wants to follow me on Twitter, my Twitter is exactly the same as my YouTube name, which is Mr. Baelish. It's Mr._Baelish. And you can find my YouTube channel under the same name as well. And we do some fun little critiques of TV shows and movies that we all love. I recently just finished Jurassic Park 3, discussing if it was the worst Jurassic Park 3. And soon, we've got in the works Pirates of the Caribbean 5. So if you like all that sort of stuff, don't forget to subscribe. Absolutely. Definitely check out his Jurassic Park work. It's very influential and very extensive. I really dig it. Ooh, influential. I'll take that. Yes, sir. You're being too kind, sir, there. No, man. I was watching your video. It was on Jurassic Park 3, I believe. Yeah. And I was just like, yeah, I get it. I was like, yeah. You get it. You totally get it. I totally get where you're coming from. And I always say take it with a pinch of salt, because I know there'll always be some people that look at it and be like, why is this guy making such mundane things into a problem? And, you've got to don't be too into it. Like, this is just for the sake of comedy in the end of the day. And they are good movies that can be respected. It's just, we can always poke a little bit of fun at them, no matter how successful that they are. 100%. My life motto is a quote from Albert Einstein, and it's a little nonsense now and then is cherished by the wisest men. Yes. Never take things too seriously. Always have a good time. Life's too short. I might steal that. That was a good quote. Hey man, that one's free. That's just spread the love on that one. Pay it forward. Yeah, I quote that almost every day, just so I don't take life too seriously and have a good time with it. Absolutely. If you like this content, you can always follow us on Twitter. That is @mnerdiverse, where we communicate with our podcast community. We do polls of the week. We give you up-to-date news on news stories that pertain to all things nerd. And we give you updates on all of our content, just like this episode. It's going to premiere on Twitter the moment it is live. If you want to support us monetarily, you can always join our Patreon. That is Patreon.com/MOTN, where if you give us money, we'll feed it to the young Michael homunculus that plays video games in his room, and we'll use that energy to make the podcast better. Don't ask me how it works. It just does. It's weird. Just works, okay? It just works. Give money. And if you just feed the money. If you want to support us non-monetarily, you can always like our content, comment on our channels, and subscribe to our networks so you can stay up. You can get up to the minute updates on all of our new content. Once again, I want to thank you, Mr. Baelish, for joining us. This was amazing. Thank you, Master of the Nerdiverse, for allowing me into your dimension. You are allowed. You can now teleport me back to the dirt pile. But before you leave, you must kneel, because you will be knighted as a honorary Master of the Nerdiverse now. Oh my God! Thank you. You are now knighted, dude.
you get to have punch and pie now. It's part of it.
Oh, I love pie.
Yeah, man. Whatever kind you like.
I love this universe.
Yeah, it's awesome. We get fruit punch and all different kinds of pies. Whatever you need.
And now I'm a sir, Mr. Baelish.
Yes, sir, Mr. Baelish of the United Kingdom quadrant of
United
the
Kingdom
universe.
quadrant.
Yes, that's all you, man. It's like if I had to be Captain America, you're Captain Britain now, dude.
Captain Britain. Captain Brexit.
Captain Brexit, dude. Yeah.
Yes.
You're just
Brexit done.
You're just standing on the River Thames, just pointing at people leave. Figure out a
Get
way.
out.
Get out. Get out.
Nah, but yeah, man. Thank you so much for this. This has been a great experience. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, we definitely got to do this again. And if this is your very first time listening to Masters in the Nerdiverse, I would like to be the first to thank you and welcome you to the Nerdiverse. I've, of course, been your host, Mike G, and I will always ask you to look towards the skies. Look towards the skis.